I'd like to say to Mr. DeFord, Jelly Roll, I heard your sermon on the CMA, and I was wondering what you're doing on Sunday. You know well from your experience that the war on drugs began in 1971, ushering in federal and state policies that resulted in an explosion of drug-related arrests. Your family's been impacted by this. You've been impacted from 1975 to 2019. The United States prison population ballooned from under 250,000 people to more than 1.4 million. A number that Dr. King, whose birthday we will celebrate in a few days, could not imagine. I often call it the new Jim Crow. The consequences of incarceration can be lasting. In many states, those who have been convicted of drug-related crimes face significant obstacles in finding a job, securing a place to live, even voting. And so the very forms of discrimination against which Dr. King and others fought have been reinscribed within the context of America's criminal justice system. And as I've said before in this committee, my fear is that if we treat addiction simply as a law enforcement problem, we will continue to hollow out entire communities to fill our overcrowded and in some cases privatized prison systems while leaving communities no safer. And so I'd like to ask you, as you've told the story of your past, when you were a teenager, you were arrested and served time in prison for drug-related offenses, including violent ones. How has that felony conviction on your record affected you, a successful rapper, a musician, a songwriter to date?
Yeah, I mean, I carry it in every way you can carry it, Senator. Thanks for asking. There's so many countries I'm not allowed into, which I never thought would matter until I start having hit records in Canada and Germany, and I'm not allowed to go. I'm not allowed to vote. Any core right has been restricted for me. I struggled to buy a home because homeowner insurances were trying to charge me premiums because of my felony. I mean, this thing has hit me in ways that we couldn't describe. I've had neighborhoods where HOAs just flat wouldn't let me live there because of my felony. I have seen the effects of carrying this thing with me. And my state has a violent offender policy where it does zero forgiveness for violent offenses. A crime I committed when I was 15, I'll never be able to get expunged. And I carry that still today.
So you in a real sense are the embodiment of a story of redemption.
Yes, sir.
I know a little bit about redemption, preach about it every week, and you embody that, and yet you live with this cloud over your head, unable to vote and struggling to buy a home.
It's hard to move forward when your past is always in your back pocket.
So thank you for that. I believe that most of the folk who are struggling with addiction need health care and need treatment, not permanent incarceration. There's a way in which, as you describe it, people are shackled even when they're not incarcerated. Do you believe that access to better care, treatment, and resources early on could have kept you out of trouble with the law?
Absolutely. And I want to be very clear that I believe drug addiction is a mental health problem, not a law enforcement problem, just so we're clear on the front end of that. I believe drug dealing is a law enforcement problem. I believe drug addiction is a mental health problem, sir. But I believe if I would have had resources in my juvenile years or more opportunities, or if we focused more on education and loving and less on discipline, especially with our youth, we could get mountains moved.
Well, thank you for your voice on this and ways in which you're using your music and your platform to help people who are dealing with addiction issues. But we need you to help us to get it right in terms of policy. Last year, I pushed for the Fend Off Fentanyl Act to allow for some of the illicit finances reclaimed by the government to go to the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration to provide funds for substance use disorder treatment and recovery and diversion programs. The chairman committed to working with me to get my provision in the bill before it goes to the floor, and I look forward to working with Chairman Brown to ensure that this important provision is included before this bill passes Congress. Again, thank you so much, sir, for your voice on such.
I'm not educated enough to speak on this, sir, but I will say I have a feeling there's going to be more than enough money to go around.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm back with another video, and in today's video, I want to talk about Jelly Roll testifying at the Senate fentanyl hearing, right? So they're trying to formulate a plan to help with the fentanyl crisis in America. The fentanyl crisis in America has reached levels that the crack epidemic hasn't even seen. And it's unfortunate that it took it hitting rural America, it hitting middle America, and being affected by a bunch of white people for the government to give a shit, because they didn't care about crack. But now all of a sudden they care. Now all of a sudden they're saying things like, oh, we don't want to be reactionary, we want to be proactive. But the only thing that they were with black people was reactionary, right? That's when the war on drugs started, which honestly triggered the events leading up to the situation we are in right now. Now, I know I'm a little bit late to the conversation talking about Jelly Roll doing this. He did this about a month ago, and honestly, I have a lot to say, so bear with me. But I do want to be a little bit more consistent hitting at some of these topics when they come about. So that's my main goal for this year 2024 is consistency. I just took a little break because I needed to, but we're gonna be consistent as fuck. All right, so I want to average between 3 and 5 uploads every week, and if I can do that, I think we're gonna make some good work happen. So go ahead and sub to the channel. I also make music and I do commentary videos. So anyways, to talk about Jelly Roll, I mean, I don't think anyone saw this coming. And one of the people at the Senate hearing even joked, I think it was a senator or someone, I don't know who it was, but someone at the hearing said, I don't think anyone had Jelly Roll testifies at the Senate hearing on their 2024 bingo card. And that's spot on. Who would guess that? And it's, to me, it shows that maybe there's more hope, and it could be a turning point in America. Because when the fuck have you ever seen politicians, suits, these type of people, right, associate with fucking rappers and rock stars and fucking ex-drug dealers, right? These people, this art is very important, it's very impactful, because it speaks to a lot of struggles and pain that people are going through in America. However, for the longest time, it's been disrespected and ignored by more elitists, right? But by the politicians, by the coastal elites, right? They look down upon that shit, right? So the fact that a voice like Jelly Roll is being welcomed into that environment, and he gets to share, and they all respect him, and come to find that a lot of them listen to his music, I don't have a lot of hope for our government. I don't think they care. I don't think they see us. But if anything would be a possible turning point, this is it. This is something that gives me a little bit of optimism. I'm still looking at it kind of sideways. All right, you got to follow through. Let's see if in 2024 if some actual work can get done, And these things do take a long time. So maybe what we're seeing now, we won't see the effects of until 2025, 2026, whatever it may be. But I have more hope that the government's going to do the right thing here than I had in a very, very long time. Now, I'd recommend that everyone go and watch the entire video after this one. Go watch the entire Senate hearing for the fentanyl Senate hearing with Jelly Roll. I watched the whole thing, and I just took this one clip. There's one clip in particular, because I feel like there's a lot that I personally have to add to this. Because although I'm not a felon, honestly, most of the people I grew up with, they're all felons right now, right? Me personally, I'm lucky enough to not be a felon. I'm lucky enough that all of my legal troubles and issues have been expunged, because it all happened when I was a minor. I completed probation. I didn't have any other serious charges. So as a part of the court deal or whatever the fuck I made, I did everything I needed to do. My shit was expunged. It was all as a minor. I have no charges as an adult, and bless the Lord for that, honestly. That might be a product of me being from Illinois, because it sounds like where Jelly Roll's from, he's suffering from something that he did when he was 15, and it looks like it was impossible for him to get that expunged, and it's affecting him. And this is really important to talk about, is when someone gets in trouble in America, the actual punishment is not being arrested or being fined or community service, house arrest, even going to prison. That's not the actual punishment. It's not being allowed to then participate in society freely as everyone else is. You can't rent anywhere. It's hard to get a job. You can't vote. You can't own a weapon. Like, it's several things that just make life hard. And it's almost like once you get caught up in the system, it's hard to get out of the system. People end up in these cycles. And it happened growing up, right? Like, I was one of the lucky ones. I was able to get out of that cycle, you know? I got locked up when I was 14. I was on probation for a year. I did everything I needed to do. I did all my community service. I had to go to therapy. But I was very paranoid about getting in trouble again during that year, you know? So I played it really safe. A lot of my friends didn't, man. And what happens is you get arrested when you're 12, 13, 14. You get your first charge. And then you mess up, you know, before you fucking get off of probation or whatever the fuck punishment was for that charge. Before you're let off the hook, you get in trouble again. And so it just keeps rolling over and rolling over. And if that happens all the way until adulthood, I don't think it's hard to understand what happens there, right? And here's the thing, here's what is frustrating about it, is it's not like these people that get caught up in the system are necessarily committing any more crimes to anyone else. They have the spotlight on them, right? Like, they're under the microscope, they're in the hot seat. So any little thing they're doing is going to be seen, scrutinized, and they're going to be fucking penalized for it. They're going to be locked up. Even though the average person, like, think about how many laws you're probably breaking in a day or a week. But if you're on probation, you know, if you got your PO fucking constantly calling you. I had friends, man. I had friends whose probation officers would show up in the school in the middle of the day, and they get called out of class, like, oh, so and so, your PO is here, and they drug test them in school, dude. It's like they want to catch you slipping. They want so bad to find another fucking reason to lock you up, and it's like, why? Especially when we're talking about minors, we're talking about kids, and they have this fear, dude. You know, like it's. And it's crazy because I knew kids that they'd get on probation and they couldn't smoke weed. They were terrified of failing a drug test. So they do fucking K2. They do like spice and shit, right? Like, so it's like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, it's so many problems with our justice system. It doesn't rehabilitate anyone. It causes more issues. It takes people in a rough spot and makes things even rougher. When they asked Jelly Roll if growing up, if he had more support, more care, less focus on discipline, and a more focus on like support and mental health, things like that, right? Would it make the difference? He said absolutely. And I was thinking the same thing, man, because all they cared about was discipline. All they fucking cared about was driving home the idea that like we're the fucking like degenerate kids and we're not gonna be shit and we're gonna fucking grow up and be dead or in jail. You know how many times I heard that as a child, man, from grown ass adults? When you grow up, you're gonna be dead or in jail. When you grow up, you're gonna be dead or in jail. Over and over again, man. And I think it's important to like, you don't understand what it's like growing up as a kid in an environment surrounded by fuck shit, surrounded by violence and drugs and abuse and all these terrible things, right? All this debauchery. Kids are so prone to their environment, and Polo G said it best. We ain't had no heroes, so we looked up to the villains. That's some real shit, man. That's exactly what it is. You know, because as a kid, you just want validation, you just want respect. And oftentimes, the easiest way to get those things is not the righteous route. It's not like the holy route, but you're a kid, so you don't fully understand everything. I mean, you do, but you don't. It takes a lot. Growing up, I went to 7 different alternative schools, 7 different behavioral schools. And that severely impacted me, how I came up. I learned a lot of ways to survive, things I had to unlearn now because I don't need them anymore. And they're toxic, harmful traits. They're toxic, harmful ways of going about things. It's not how society can ever work, but that's what I learned, right? So the better part of my 20s, I'm 25 right now, has been trying to unpack my experience, unlearn the negative shit, and relearn like positive skills, right? Positive life skills, positive coping skills, things like that, of that nature. My senior year, it was a staff member that absolutely rocked me. Now, I don't know what this staff member's exact position was. It was some kind of program director. They weren't a teacher. They weren't a teacher's aide. They were somewhere above teachers, right? And they They took me and my friend, me and my buddy. Now this kid, let's call him Sam, okay? So me and Sam, we have gone to multiple alternative schools together, believe it or not, right? Like, it's pretty fucking crazy. We ended up going to multiple different alternative schools. And like, I knew this kid back when we were little kids, like we were like 12, right? We went to some alternative school. And then years later, he pops up at this alternative school I was going to in high school, man. And so I was real close to the kid. We used to hunt out a lot. He's a fucking hothead. He's always getting in trouble doing dumb fuck shit, right? So this teacher pulls us aside and asks us, how long have you two been going to alternative schools? And we tell him since like second grade, since we were like 7, you know, since we were like 8, since we were little kids. And he looks us in the eye and he goes, I want you two to understand that you've been institutionalized and you should probably understand what that means for your lives going forward. I was like, what? And he talked to us a little bit more, but not that much. I didn't fully understand at the time. But I've been unpacking all of this and how much my upbringing has affected all of this, you know? And I want to say is that in America, kids that are growing up in these environments, we are discarding them and throwing them out and not giving them a chance. We are shoveling them directly into the school to prison pipeline. Like, dude, like, here's the thing. Kids that are struggling, they all get sent to the same place. And then they all just fucking link up and do fucking wild shit, dude. It's the same thing as prison, where like you go to prison and you just learn how to be a better criminal. It's the same thing when you're a damn kid. It's like, oh, I'm a little kid that's getting in trouble. Yeah, send me to where all the gangbangers and drug dealers go to school. Yeah, because then I'm gonna go there and what's gonna happen? Oh, I'm gonna do what fucking everyone else is doing. I'm gonna be like follow my friends and shit, you know? Like, it's just, they don't care. My dad used to say that these types of schools, they warehouse kids like us, you know, they're just warehousing us because they want to keep us away from the general population. That's all it is. So 100%, if we had some more type of care, support, mental health, like counseling, whatever it may be, and less focus on discipline and you're going to fucking go to jail or end up dead. Like, dude, it was just wagging fingers in my face my entire fucking life growing up. And that only fucking ever made me want to go out and break the law more, okay? Like, you fucks never helped. So, please, God, Jelly Roll testifying has to come to something. Because I've never seen suits like that respect a person like that with fucking tattoos all on his face and shit. I've never seen the Senate respect people like that. So I'm praying to God that this is a turning point in America. Because kids that came up like that, it's hundreds of thousands of kids that's going through what I went through, that's going through what Jelly Roll went through, and they're all gonna go down the wrong road unless if there's some intervention. So, you know, I pray to God that these kids have someone to save them. And that's what I'm doing. That's what all my music is about. I just want to tell people how it is, and people that can relate, I want them to relate. I want to be a positive influence and tell you that you could do positive shit. Fuck what they told you. You don't have to be that. You're not a degenerate, dude. You're a fucking human being, and you deserve all the respect and care in the world. Anyways, peace out, bitches. Have a good one.
This my last chance, so I gotta take it. Everybody talking shit, they can never make it. You would give up, yeah, you would start some hate shit. I'm working harder, no, I'm gonna make it. Take this fucking shit, you could get it. Everybody knows that's just how I'm living, that's how I'm rocking. Shut your fucking talking, you know I'm a goblin. Nigga, shit, no problem. Call phone he gon' end it real quick. Still got some killers stalking around the shop.